A third episode of Hawkeye came out today, and first I just have to say happy December to everyone. It's finally Christmas time, holidays time, whatever you want to say, whatever you celebrate, it really does not matter. I'm just really excited because this is probably my favorite time of year besides the summer. So now I have an excuse to wear shirts like this. It's a yippee-ki-yay Christmas shirts, watch a lot of Christmas movies, listen to Christmas music, all stuff like that. But anyway, talking about Hawkeye episode 3 and full spoilers, that's what we're doing today. So if you haven't seen the episode, click off the video, go watch it. I really enjoyed this episode. A lot of people have been hating on it a little bit, not like they hate it, but just that it's not as good as the other ones, but I think it is just as good as the first two. There's so much that I loved in the episode. There are a few things, and I'll talk about those first. A few things that aren't the greatest, and the first thing is the end of the episode. I know I'm jumping right to it, but it just, pulls a WandaVision, please stand by. It just ends so abruptly, and I really wanted to see what the rest of that scene had in store for us, because obviously if you've seen it, you know how it ends, and Hawkeye's walking around the apartment, and then Jack pulls a sword to him, and it's don't move, or something like that. So I don't know what's going on with my nose, but it was just okay, I want to see more of this. This episode was shorter. When the credits rolled, it was at 37 minutes, so that is a lot short. I think that's 10 minutes shorter than the other ones. And again, I liked it as much as the other ones. There are parts of this episode I liked even more. There's also some stuff where I want more out of some of the characters, more so with the whole relationship between Kate and Jack and all that, because in this episode it's really kind of just silent. They don't even really mention it. Except for maybe one scene, and then we see Jack at the very end, but I wanted to see more of that. I wanted to see her kind of go at him more. I feel if this episode was about 10 minutes longer, we could have had that whole scene in the penthouse, there we go. I feel we could have seen that whole thing play out, and there was also a few CGI issues the odd time. I said that in my first episode review, it's the odd time, the odd frame where I'm ooh, that doesn't actually look finished, but those are really my only problems. They're very minor as well, although I mentioned them first, they are very minor. I really love this episode. I think that this is one of the strongest MCU show episodes, if that makes sense. The action here is really great. What they do with the slow-mo and how they show a bow shooting and stuff like that. There's one shot, I think Clint is kind of on his side and he shoots it, and you just see you just see his face move a little bit, and it's stuff like that probably looks really weird, but it's stuff like that works so well. And there's this whole great scene where Clint is driving away from the people who had captured him and Kate at the end of the last episode, and Kate's out there shooting some of the trick arrows that they call them, and she's I don't know what these do, and then she just keeps firing them, and then Clint's no, keep going, no, here's this one, shoot at their tires. And there's one time where she shoots it and it just lands in the window, and it's just she's what'd she say? She says a Play-Doh one or a putty one, something like that. There's little stupid things like that. And one thing I really love about the show, I think I said this in both my other reviews of the first two episodes, it's just that this show is so self-aware. It totally knows that the idea of people going around with bow and arrows, shooting trick arrows at these what do they call it? Like the mafia type people. They're not mafia, the jacket, whatever. Oh my god, I can't even remember what they're called. Something like that. You know what I mean if you've seen it. It's a little silly. It is definitely silly, but it's awesome at the same time. So that's why it doesn't matter. And I like how the show plays into that. Something that I really love about the show as well is how it can balance different tones, because there's a lot of really intense action scenes, and for me, they all worked really well. I really love how they were shot here. A lot of them are really fast, but you really get to see the skill of Clint and Kate, especially, as well as some of our villains. And talking about some of the villains, I think that Kingpin has to be in one of the other ones. He's definitely the uncle character that we're talking about here. Like in the opening where we're introduced to the character that we saw at the end of the last one, where she's a child, then he goes like this and grabs her face or whatever. It's yeah, that's obviously Kingpin. So I hope we see him in the next episode. Same thing goes with Yelena, because we are halfway through the show, which is sad because I'm really loving it so far. I do hope we see her and Kingpin in the next one. I hope that they don't lead them to the finale, because that would suck a little bit, because then it'd take a long time to see them again. But I'm just really excited to see what the rest of the show has in store. I really like this episode. I know some people have been giving it some shit for just little things, and there's definitely parts I can understand. That's why I talked about those first. I totally lost my train of thought because people are yelling in my house, but I think I was saying something along the lines of what I really like is how it's balanced really well, because the action is awesome, but also the emotional scenes hit. There's a whole thing in this episode how that new character that we see, now that like she's older and works with all these bad guys, she actually smashes Clint's hearing aid, which helps him a lot because he's like hard of hearing. He's not like deaf, but he's hard of hearing. So one of the last scenes in this episode is when his wife calls, but it turns out to be his son, and then Kate has to like kind of write down what he's saying to Clint, and Clint has to like answer him without actually hearing him. And it's stuff like that that really worked well. I like how we saw the action scenes. There's some funny things, but all that is kind of pulled together really well. I really like what they're doing with the show so far. I'm excited for the other episodes. What is your favorite episode of Hawkeye though? Let me know in the comments down below. Who's your favorite character? For me, it is still Kate. I love Lucky the dog. He's just so awesome. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Over and out.